Hi guys, we're back with an update on the latest conferences now from Sony, Ubisoft and Nintendo, all done and dusted. And now that just to settle on all the conferences, what have we seen? Well, let's hit Ubisoft's one first. It was okay, it was pretty good. It opened with the first 5 minutes of Far Cry 4, which was crazy ass shit as usual. They basically showed the introduction sequence where you saw your main character you played get caught up in the madman that runs the area, so it had that feel instantly of Far Cry 3. It's basically the same thing all over again. It's open world, but it's heavily multi-co-op. What you're seeing before you is the video that they showed during the Sony conference. I'm not showing the intro because it's just a cutscene basically. The footage you saw behind you was from Sony conference. It's very heavily instigated in multiplayer. This was all multiplayer driven content. It all looks believable. The video looks genuine. It's all genuine in-game footage, that's for sure. It's all pre-running. The control was too smooth. Everything was too stifled, and it wasn't really being played by somebody on stage. In my mind, it was being played by somebody ages ago, running through a sequence, and the video was just playing out in an engine. So that was basically it. But it all looks very good, very believable. The crossbow effect, you can use the zip wire to pull yourself up on the edge of cliffs. The animal interaction and all the live AI from the creatures and the open world aspect visually look beautiful. They then showed obviously some dance stuff, which is kind of pretty irrelevant, and then they stirred up with some more Division trailer, which was basically the story behind the Division. So they showed that, and then that kind of gave you a feedback of where the story starts and how the world went to shit and people killed themselves and their daughters died and people get beaten up, and there's invisibility stuff about people turning the blind eye to shit that's going on in the world. And it was all very suggestive of the environment we live in and how culture is ruining us and blah blah blah. So that was all pretty standard stuff. They showed the crew, which does look good, does look different, very open, very dynamic. That game probably will deliver on the aspect of open world driving. And then they obviously showed the Assassin's Creed Unity. They showed some more footage of that, and that was pretty much holding off of what they showed from the Microsoft conference. They showed more multiplayer fighting aspect of that, and again that game does look actually very impressive. Certainly Ubisoft's top end game, I think, at this point. The Division was impressive from the Microsoft conference. They didn't actually show any gameplay at the Ubisoft, which was a little shocking. I thought they would. And then they ended on the shock announcement that yes, it was Rainbow Six Siege, not Patriots anymore. They actually canned it and rebooted it with this Rainbow Six Siege online multiplayer fragfest. So it looked good, it looked unique, it certainly had a very dynamic feel to the game, and you could use your tactical skills to plan out your attack where you came in from the roof, from the side, and then the scene played out with lots of voiceovers, lots of conferencing and talking while the game played out. So it certainly has a very natural, organic feel to the multiplayer. Ashley Tyler hosted it again, and she wasn't too bad this time. She wasn't too over the top, and it all felt pretty much as we thought it was. There was no real surprises in there, let's be honest. The only real surprise was the fact it was Rainbow Six, but even that was probably guessed that beforehand. So yeah, that was pretty good. What did Nintendo deliver? Well, Nintendo had obviously had theirs only a few hours ago, and they popped up a lot of the stuff that I guessed they would show. So they showed Xenoblade Chronicles, which was X, but now it's called Xenoblade Chronicles X. They showed Mario Maker for the Wii U, Smash Brothers, which we thought was going to be done for 3DS. They showed Pokemon and Kirby, and obviously Bayonetta 2 was there, and it includes the first game as well. And then the real shockers, obviously they showed Zelda. As I predicted, it wasn't a hyper-realistic version, it was back to the cel-shaded, cartoony feel. A very thin, kind of gaunt anime version of Zelda there. So yeah, they've changed that style a little bit. And then Miyamoto popped up, and he brought some surprise games. He brought a new Star Fox game. Now that was a surprise, that came out of the blue, and that's something that looks quite good on the Wii U, and he's obviously using the pad controller quite heavily in what he's doing with them. And then he had this robot tank game which he showed as well. So Nintendo certainly brought some exclusive third-party content as well, like Devil's Third, which is now Wii U exclusive. It's just exclusive to them. And yeah, by and large, Nintendo did a pretty good show. They didn't do anything groundbreaking. They didn't, again, like I thought, they didn't bring anything brand spanking new or anything that blew the trees away. I think Miyamoto's brought this Project Guard and Project Giant Robot was quite a good showing from them. And I think, by and large, it's their best E3 for a very long time. They did exactly what I said they should have done. Not that listen to me, I'm just saying my opinion. And they didn't go head-to-head with these big Microsoft and Sony. They kind of played it low-key, brought a load of games that shows off what they can do and what they do best, which is new, dynamic, different, and they're just a little bit left of field. So hopefully Nintendo will have a really good year this year, and E3 certainly did them proud. And then the big one was Sony's. I say big one in two ways. One, it was a big show, and two, it was a bloody long one. And I think if my first real point of Sony is they probably dragged their show on a little bit too long. I think the 90 minutes that Microsoft stuck to was one of their highlights. They kept it neat, tidy, and ran it really well. Sony kind of had way more presentation, way more actual games, and they hit very, very hard on loads of different areas of the presentation. But because they were on so long, it made it feel like it wasn't as full as it actually was, because you had this bit in the middle where the new boss was kind of talking for a very long time about how he wants this and that, and Sony's innovating, and it just became a very protracted conversation. But the biggest points that they hit: new Infamous Second Son First Light was shown, which is basically DLC content. You don't need the original game to play this. It's digital only, so they're pushing the PSN side of it. They did obviously a lot of embracing with the indies, which I thought there was so many games on indie there that I lost track. Very much like Microsoft, but far more organised in the way they presented it, with people on stage and demonstrations. They opened the show with Destiny, which was a very dramatic beginning to the Destiny trailer, and then they announced that there's actually going to be a beta this week, so that will be out before the actual beta on PS3 and PS4, the Sony exclusive one if you've pre-ordered the game. I've obviously signed up for that like I did for the Battlefield, so I'll wait and see if I get into that, and if I do, I'll be getting some feedback, some videos online for you guys to have a look at. They went through the PS Now rentals, and they showed off a PS TV. What you can see before you was what they pretty much ended the show with, which was a live on-stage demonstration of Batman, and fucking hell, the game looks amazing. But what was mightily impressive, which Assassin's Creed also shown, was the flow between interior, exterior game types. There's no loading. You went straight from a room, from a cutscene, out the window, fell to the city, flew around, straight into the Batmobile, straight into attacking, as you can see here. Just completely seamless, and it really summed up what Sony did very well. And then they just hit a lot of games. They showed the Order 1886, which you see in front of you. They showed an on-screen gameplay footage of that. That's obviously getting a lot of stick already, I'm sure, because it had a lot of QTE or cinematics in it, but I can understand that what they're showing. There was the horror element. They showed the Lycans for the first time, and this game still gets me buzzing. The footage you see in front of you is obviously the scene from the stage. It's poor quality. I've done the best I can, so I apologise. As soon as I've got a better quality version, I'll stick it on there. But there is a high quality trailer that's been released as well, which shows a little bit better, which I'll run at the end of this video because I thought it was a very impressive showing. They obviously showed the Shadowfall DLC content, the new mode there where you can play the co-op mode 4-4 across online, which is quite good. They had the Dead Island 2 reveal. They showed obviously The Last of Us HD, which you would have saw my video this morning, and then they showed Little Big Planet 3, which was quite a surprise because Media Molecule weren't there, and it turns out they've not made the game. It's another small unknown team at this time, but certainly not a big name team that's made this game. They'll show the Far Cry 4 stuff that I showed you earlier. The Mortal Kombat gameplay trailer, yeah, it looks good. It's Mortal Kombat, it's 1080-60, it's a beat 'em up game. You know, I'm not going to get too excited about that. So there was lots and lots of stuff on there. There was the exclusive Let It Die game, which looked very violent and gory. I'm not too sure about the game. It's just basically you kill other people in a room. It looked very kind of graphic and without purpose at this point, a little bit like a combination of Mortal Kombat and Manhunt is the first feel I got from it, but we shall wait and see how that game turns out when I know a little bit more about it. They hit the indie stuff, kicked off with a really impressive game, which is No Man's Sky. Now this game obviously kicked off the VGX last year, and it was the game of the show on VGX, far and away, no problem with that. It was the game of the show, and this is a massive indie game to be made, and Sony have jumped on that and they grabbed it by the balls, they pulled it in and stuck it on stage. That was mightily impressive. And then they ended with the jaw-dropping, show-stopping Uncharted 4 running at 1080, 60 frames per second, as I predicted on my other videos. Wow, You saw the video this morning. It is absolutely stunning. Now, there's a lot of hoo-ha going on about whether CGI and whether it's not, and whether it's rendered in line or real time or not, and blah blah blah. And I'll do a whole video about the graphics and the games and what Naughty Dog do when they render stuff. And I said it briefly on my video this morning. This is rendered on the PS4, but it won't be rendered in a farm like they used to do with the old versions on the PS3. It will be a single render, but the way they do it is they pre-render it because they can run the frame and smooth the frame rate out. So it's rendered on a PS3 or PS4, but it's not rendered in real time. But I'll touch on that at another video at a more appropriate time. By and large, Sony had a really, really great show. They definitely beat Microsoft again. You know, I'd give them a B plus or A minus. They're really at the ballpark. The only thing that let them down was they dragged it on too long, and there still wasn't enough gameplay for games coming out this year. Absolutely categoric, 2014 is the new delay year. If you took away third-party content from both Microsoft and Sony, you wouldn't have a lot of games to play. Now that's not a problem, because there's a lot of games out there at the moment. I've got a backlog, as long as your arm, I'm sure everyone else has as well. But it would be nice to get a clear cut of what things are coming out. So, all in all, Sony beat Microsoft, but not as coherently as they did last year. And I think the games process that Microsoft came up with just kind of let them down a little bit, because they didn't show as much actual games as they should have done. It was a lot of CGI renders and a lot of in-development game shots. So, by and large, a good E3, not a great E3, but we'll see what comes out of the show floor and what footage we get and what feedback on different games. I'm very interested to see how the order plays out on the show floor and what feedback they get from them. And then looking at other games further down the line. As far as Uncharted is concerned, I'm sure that we're not going to see anything more of that game now until December, when it's shown at the VGX. And I'm sure the VGX will get a demonstration of actual gameplay of this. So just like Naughty Dog have done in the past, Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, The Last of Us, all original gameplay reveals were all shown at the VGX. They're not going to change their tact. That's where it's going to happen. So you've got another 6 months to wait before you see any more of Uncharted 4. But by God, that game delivered. That's for damn sure. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope I didn't go on too long. As always, like, subscribe, give me feedback. I need subscriptions. If you do like me, please click that little button. That would help me out immensely. Give me feedback. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If not, tell me what I'm doing wrong, what you would prefer, what you would like me to change. I always need your feedback and your thoughts. You take care. Enjoy this order trailer from Sony's press conference, which was mightily impressive. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
A war without end requires a soldier without end.
Grave, we're in position! Move out!
I once believed it.
Take his arms.
But in this age, the convictions of a knight hold little comfort. Not when I fight those I once bled to protect.
Go!
And still bleed to protect a peace that was lost long ago.
Grain, Lafayette, I'll need you to provide cover.
As we wrest hollow victories on the streets of London. The hidden enemy readies our defeat.
Save your prayers, Lafayette. There is no God to help him.